The Galactic Council sat in a massive chamber of light and steel, a place where stars were mapped on glowing panels that hung in the air like constellations. Hundreds of alien ambassadors filled the seats, their strange voices whispering and echoing off the high walls. The air smelled faintly of ozone and fear. War was coming, and everyone knew it. For weeks, the Council had been debating how to stop the Korith Dominion, a ruthless empire that had already conquered dozens of star systems. Entire planets had burned under their iron rule. Their people, enslaved or slaughtered, no one had ever stopped them. Not once in 1,000 years. The Dominion moves too quickly, hissed an insectoid ambassador, her mandibles clicking. They have already reached the outer colonies of the Zoran cluster. If they reach the central systems, we are finished. Their fleets outnumber ours 3-1, groaned a tall, pale alien with 6 eyes. We will never match them. Not with this council's politics. Fear rippled through the chamber. No one wanted to admit it, but defeat seemed certain. Then, a voice from the back dared to speak. What about Earth? The room went quiet. 1,000 alien heads turned. Earth? Someone repeated, a tone of amusement in their voice. The humans. Yes, the ambassador said. They have a growing fleet. Laughter broke out, harsh and cold. Humans are children, said a scaled reptilian diplomat. They discovered faster than light travel less than a century ago. Their technology is primitive. Their species is undisciplined. They are not ready for war. Another alien, a creature of glowing mist, let out a soft hum of mockery. They still fight among themselves. They are a young race. A dangerous one, yes, but young. Let them stay on their small blue planet. They would only slow us down. The Council moved on, dismissing the idea. No one wanted to waste time on humanity. But far away in the Sol system, Earth was already preparing for war. When the Korith Dominion scouts appeared near the outer planets, humanity didn't panic. They didn't beg for help, they simply vanished from the galactic stage. Trade routes closed. Human diplomats withdrew from meetings. Ships stopped appearing on Council radar. It was as if Earth had gone dark. The galaxy assumed they were hiding. The truth was far more dangerous. The Dominion expected Sol to fall quickly. They sent fleets into the system expecting to crush human resistance within hours. Instead, their ships disappeared. Entire battle groups entered the Sol system and never returned. Weeks passed, then months. Whispers began to spread among the stars. Rumors of strange weapons, reports of Dominion ships ripped apart as if by unseen hands, tales of a planet that fought back with a fury no one had imagined. Still, the Council did nothing. They thought the rumors were lies. They thought humanity was weak until space itself trembled. It started as a faint vibration detected on every sensor across the galaxy. A wave of energy unlike anything the Council had recorded before. Then came the signal, an open broadcast that reached every star system, every ship, every planet. On every screen, a single image appeared. A warship. It was colossal, a spear of black metal and blazing light, bristling with weapons no one could identify. Thousands of smaller ships followed it in perfect formation, moving like predators. The sight sent shivers through every watching soul. And there, glowing across its armored hull, was a name the galaxy would never forget. UNS Retribution. The Dominion fleet waited at the edge of the Sol system, a massive wall of warships stretching across the stars. Thousands of their vessels stood ready, their black hulls gleaming with menace. Each ship carried weapons powerful enough to shatter cities. The Korith Dominion had crushed hundreds of worlds, and they expected this to be no different. But deep, in the dark void beyond Jupiter, the humans waited. Inside the bridge of the UNS Retribution, Admiral Elena Vasquez stood with her hands clasped behind her back. She was calm, her expression cold, but her heart carried the weight of billions of human lives. Around her, the crew worked in silence. The air was thick with tension, but not fear. Humanity had been preparing for this day for decades. Enemy fleet in range, reported a young officer. How many? Vasquez asked softly. Approximately 1,000 ships, Admiral. Vasquez's lips curved into the faintest smile. Good. Let's show them what Earth has become. The Dominion moved first. Their fleet surged forward, weapons flashing like angry stars. Streams of plasma fire lit the void, filling space with deadly brilliance. The enemy commander had expected the humans to scatter, to run, to panic. Instead, the humans advanced. The Retribution led the way, a mountain of black steel, gliding through the chaos like a predator. Its hull shimmered with layers of advanced shielding, its surface alive with glowing weapon ports. The Dominion's first barrage struck, but their blasts splashed harmlessly against the ship's defenses. Fire, Vasquez said calmly. The sky ignited. Human weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Enormous kinetic lances shot forward, invisible until they struck. The first Dominion battleship exploded instantly, torn apart by a projectile moving faster than light. A swarm of autonomous drones detached from the Retribution, streaking through space like silver arrows, weaving between enemy fire and striking, with surgical precision. Dominion ships burst one after another, their formations collapsing in seconds. Panic rippled through their ranks as they realized the humans weren't just fighting back, they were annihilating them. Push forward, Vasquez commanded. Her voice was steady, calm, but inside her heart thundered. This was Earth's moment. Humans fought with terrifying precision. Each movement was calculated, every strike deliberate. Where other fleets would panic under fire, the humans moved like a single mind. Years of war on their homeworld had forged them into something stronger, harder, and far more dangerous than the Dominion had ever faced. Within minutes, the battle was no longer a battle. It was a slaughter. In the Dominion flagship, chaos reigned. "They're tearing us apart," cried one officer. "We can't match their speed. Their weapons. What are those weapons?" The Korath commander snarled, his scaled face twisting, with fear. "They're just humans. Primitive savages. Destroy them." But deep down, he already knew the truth. They had underestimated this species. They had poked a sleeping predator. Back on the Retribution, Admiral Vasquez watched as enemy icons blinked out one by one. "Status report," she said. "Enemy fleet at 60% losses," her officer replied. "They're retreating, Admiral." Vasquez's gaze hardened. "No retreats." Moments later, a massive shockwave spread through space as the Retribution's main cannon fired. A blazing spear of energy ripped through the enemy's flagship, splitting it in half like paper. The Dominion commander's last transmission was a scream before his ship vanished in fire. Silence followed. The once mighty Dominion fleet was gone, nothing but drifting wreckage. The humans had won. Vasquez stepped forward, her voice calm but cold as she broadcast to every star system in range. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of Earth," she said. "The Korath Dominion has fallen. Humanity stands ready to defend this galaxy. If you want peace, stand with us. If you want war, come and see what happens." Across the galaxy, fear spread like wildfire. The Council, once so dismissive of Earth, now trembled. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't seen as weak. They were seen as inevitable. The galaxy had never been so silent. For centuries, the Korath Dominion had been the shadow that ruled the stars, feared by every race, obeyed by every world. Now their throne world was a graveyard, their fleets shattered and burning in the void, and the ones who had done it were not ancient gods or legendary warriors. They were humans. Word spread quickly. Across thousands of planets, whispers grew into stories, and stories grew into legends. Miners on distant asteroids spoke of a single ship that had burned an empire. Refugees freed from Dominion slavery cried as they watched the footage of human warships cutting through their oppressors. Children across alien worlds began drawing the image of the Retribution. Its black hull and blazing weapons burned into their dreams. Humanity was no longer just a name. It was a warning. But humanity did not stop at destroying the Dominion. One by one, human fleets moved through enemy-controlled space, dismantling slave camps and breaking chains that had existed for generations. Cities that had been under Dominion rule for hundreds of years saw their sky light up with freedom. as sleek human warships descended. The sight was terrifying, but also hopeful. For the first time, those who had known only fear saw a new kind of power, one that fought not for control but for survival and justice. In the Galactic Council, chaos turned to shame. The same ambassadors who had laughed at Earth now sat in silence, watching live feeds of human soldiers leading alien civilians out of prisons, giving them food, and helping them rebuild their homes. "How could we not see their strength?" whispered a counselor, his voice trembling. "They were too quiet," muttered another. "We mistook their patience for weakness. And now we kneel." The humans did not demand worship or tribute. They asked for something far heavier: respect. When Admiral Elena Vasquez arrived at the council chamber, she came without an army. But the weight of her presence was enough to still every voice. Her black uniform bore no medals, only a single silver insignia of Earth. Behind her, a hologram of the Retribution hovered, casting a dark glow over the alien leaders. "You ignored us," she said simply, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. "You left us to fight alone, and we won." No one dared to speak. "We will not ask for a seat in your council," Vasquez continued. "We don't need your permission to exist. We don't need your armies to protect us, but we will not allow tyranny to rule these stars any longer. Humanity has seen what you are afraid to face, and we will not stop." Her words echoed in the HFY chamber. The delegates shifted uncomfortably, some bowing their heads, others staring at her in awe. For the first time they understood. Humanity had not risen because it was powerful. It had risen because it had no other choice. The galaxy began to change. Worlds once enslaved raised the flag of freedom, inspired by the humans who had bled for their liberation. The name Earth became a symbol of defiance. Star systems that had long been silent now sent messages of alliance. The Council, humbled and shaken, finally offered humanity not just a seat, but a position of leadership. Vasquez's answer was simple. "We'll stand with you," she said, "but understand this: we do not serve fear. We end it." That night, the stars seemed different. For centuries, civilizations had looked to the heavens with fear of empires like the Dominion. Now they looked up with hope and a shadow of awe. Because somewhere out there, a black warship roamed the stars, silent and unstoppable, carrying the strength of an entire species that refused to kneel. And every child, every soldier, every leader in the galaxy remembered the day humanity arrived, the day they came with fire. The galaxy was no longer the same. The fall of the Korath Dominion had shaken the stars to their core. For the first time in 1,000 years, the chains of empire were broken. Worlds that had only known fear now breathed freely, their skies no longer shadowed by enemy warships. Children slept without nightmares. Planets long silenced by oppression sang again, and at the center of this new age was humanity. In the Sol system, the Earth glimmered like a jewel of blue and green. Orbiting above it, colossal shipyards worked day and night, their glowing frames stretching like spiderwebs across the void. Warships were being built faster than ever before, sleek giants of black steel, each one carrying the lessons of the Dominion War. Humanity had no intention of letting another enemy threaten them again. On Mars, cities thrived under protective domes, their red skies alive with the hum of industry. The asteroid belt was filled with mining operations, all working to supply the growing human navy. Even the outer colonies far from the sun were alive with purpose. Humanity was no longer just a species, it was becoming a force. But for Admiral Elena Vasquez, victory felt heavy. She stood alone on the observation deck of the Retribution, looking out at the endless sea of stars. The war was over, but her heart was restless. The galaxy was vast, and she knew that what humanity had faced was only the beginning. The Dominion, for all its terror, had been predictable. They had been arrogant. But out there, somewhere in the dark, were things far older and far more dangerous, ma'am, came a soft voice behind her. A young officer stood at attention. "The Council has sent a message. They want to form a new alliance. They're asking you to lead the defense network for the entire galaxy." Vasquez turned her head slightly, her sharp eyes glinting in the dim light. And they also want Earth to take a permanent seat in the council. The officer hesitated. They're afraid of us. Vasquez gave a small, humorless smile. Good. News of the alliance spread quickly. Alien. Worlds that once saw humans as primitives now looked to them as protectors. Fleets of mixed species began training under human guidance, learning Earth's tactics, its relentless discipline, and its refusal to surrender. For many, this was a chance at hope. For others, it was a reminder that a predator now guarded the galaxy. But even as celebrations rang out across liberated worlds deep in the blackness of space, something stirred. In a hidden sector beyond known charts, long-dead stars flickered to life. Strange signals began to whisper through the void, signals older than the Dominion, older than the Council itself. Massive structures drifted among the ruins of shattered planets, their surfaces covered in alien markings no one could read. For millennia, they had slept. Now, they were waking. The few scouts who ventured too close never returned. On the Retribution, Vasquez stood with her command staff, watching the encrypted transmissions from deep space. The images were grainy but clear enough. Colossal silhouettes moving in the darkness, machines the size of moons. Unknown. Silent. Waiting. Vasquez didn't flinch. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "Another war, Admiral?" a commander asked, nervously. "No," Vasquez said, her voice calm and cold. "This isn't war. This is survival. Again." Across the galaxy, humans and aliens alike watched as the Retribution and her sister ships set out once more, their black hulls gliding through hyperspace like silent predators. The legend of humanity was no longer a story told in whispers. It was a warning etched into the stars. Earth would not kneel, Earth would not retreat, and Earth would never stop. Somewhere in the endless dark, something ancient stirred, and humanity was already coming. The darkness between galaxies was silent but not empty. In the far reaches of uncharted space, beyond the borders of every known map, something ancient was moving. Vast shapes drifted through the void, silent and patient. They had watched empires rise and fall. They had seen species burn themselves out in wars long forgotten. And now, they were awake. A single probe from the United Nations Stellar Navy had been sent to investigate strange readings near a dead star. It never sent a return signal. The only clue was a brief transmission. A single image of a massive structure. A station the size of a small moon, pulsing with dim, eerie light. Then, the probe was gone. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching. The recording again. The image flickered on the main screen. The alien station's surface was covered in markings like scars, glowing faintly in colors no human eye had seen before. Around it drifted enormous ships, their designs completely unknown, their surfaces shifting like living metal. "Run it again," Vasquez ordered. The footage played one more time. It always ended the same way. Static, then silence. Her second-in-command, Captain Darius Cole, frowned. Whatever's out there, it didn't just destroy that probe, it erased it. There wasn't even debris. Vasquez's eyes narrowed. That's not a weapon we understand. The Council was terrified. Messages flooded Earth's channels. Alien leaders begging humanity to investigate. They had seen what humanity had done to the Dominion. They believed only humans could face whatever was awakening. But for Vasquez, fear wasn't enough. She needed information. She needed to see it herself. "Prepare a scout fleet," she said. "We're going in." Days later, 5 human warships slipped through hyperspace toward the dead star. The Retribution led the way, silent and sharp as a blade. The crew moved with calm precision, but tension was heavy in the air. No one knew what they would find. When they arrived, the star system was empty. No light, no planets, just cold void and drifting debris. "Admiral," Cole said, softly, "there's nothing here." Vasquez shook her head. "There's always something. Keep scanning. Minutes passed. Then, without warning, every alarm on the ship blared. Multiple contacts, a sensor officer shouted. They weren't there a second ago, they just appeared. The view screen flickered to life. Enormous ships emerged from the darkness, their forms twisting like shadows, their hulls glimmering with strange alien lights. They moved silently, without engines, as if the void itself carried them forward. No known database recognized their design. Then, one of the ships opened fire. A beam of pure energy lanced through the blackness, striking one of the escort ships. In a flash of light, it was gone, erased completely as if it had never existed. Evasive maneuvers, Vasquez barked. The Retribution roared to life, engines flaring, drones launching like a swarm of metallic hornets. Human weapons lit up the darkness, but the enemy ships danced away almost as if they knew where the shots would land before they fired. "Admiral, they're reading our systems," Cole said, panic in his voice. "They're predicting us." Vasquez's eyes were calm, cold. "Then let's give them something unpredictable." The Retribution's main cannon charged, glowing like a newborn star. With a thunderous roar, it unleashed a spear of kinetic energy that tore through the nearest alien ship. For a moment, the void burned. The enemy vessel shattered into glowing fragments, but more appeared. Dozens, hundreds, silent, cold, watching. Vasquez stared at them, her heart steady. "Send this transmission to the Council," she ordered. "What message, Admiral?" She didn't hesitate. "Tell them we've found something older than fear, and tell them Earth is coming." The Retribution turned, leading its surviving ships back to human space. The enemy didn't chase. They simply hovered in the void, waiting, watching, and across the galaxy, whispers began again. The Dominion had been a nightmare, but this was something far worse, something ancient, and once again humanity would be the first to face it. The first strike came without warning. In a quiet system on the galaxy's edge, a human colony orbiting a small yellow star was erased in seconds. No distress call, no sign of battle, just silence. When a patrol fleet arrived days later, they found nothing but dust and a shattered moon. The enemy had left no wreckage, no clues. It was as if the colony had never existed. The galaxy trembled. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Retribution, her jaw tight as she listened to the grim reports. Across the council chamber, alien leaders shouted in fear and confusion, but Vasquez remained calm. She had seen enough wars to know what this meant. "They're testing us," she said quietly. Captain Cole glanced at her, uneasy. "Testing us," she nodded. "This wasn't random. They wanted to see how fast we'd respond, how afraid we'd become." Cole swallowed hard. "They're not afraid of us." Vasquez's eyes narrowed. "Not yet." The Retribution and a full fleet of 50 human warships were deployed to a nearby system, a defensive wall meant to protect the next line of colonies. They waited in silence, the stars cold and still around them. The tension was so heavy that even the hum of the ship's systems felt loud. Then they came. The alien ships appeared out of the dark like ghosts. One moment, the void was empty. The next, dozens of massive vessels hovered there, their black, shifting hulls glowing faintly with symbols no one understood. They moved slowly, deliberately, like predators circling prey. "Contacts confirmed," a sensor officer whispered, his voice trembling. "No known propulsion readings. They're not even using engines." "Then they're not running," Vasquez said. "They don't need to." The enemy opened fire. A silent beam of energy cut through the void, striking a human cruiser and erasing it instantly. No explosion, no debris, just nothing. A dozen more beams followed, each one cutting through shields and armor as if they didn't exist. Human ships moved to respond, but the enemy was faster, always one step ahead, predicting every movement. "Admiral, we're losing ships too fast," shouted Cole. "We can't hold this line." Vasquez gripped the edge of her command chair, her voice calm but sharp. "Then we break their line first. Launch the drones. Full swarm protocol." Hundreds of drones shot from the Retribution's launch bays, filling the space around them like a cloud of metallic hornets. They darted toward the enemy, weaving and twisting as their AI brains tried to learn the enemy's movements. Explosions lit up the darkness as a few alien ships fell under the relentless swarm, but for every ship destroyed, more appeared. "They're multiplying," whispered the sensor officer. "Their numbers. Admiral, we're outnumbered." Vasquez's expression hardened. "Then let them come." The Retribution charged its main weapon, energy rippling along its colossal frame. The blast tore through an alien capital ship, splitting it in half. The shockwave illuminated the enemy fleet, revealing just how many ships there were. Hundreds. Thousands. For a moment, even Vasquez felt the weight of that sight. Humanity had thought itself unstoppable after the Dominion's fall. Now they faced something far older, something that had waited in the dark for eons, but fear did not stop her. "All ships, fall back to Point Sigma," she commanded. "Keep firing. Buy every second we can." The human fleet retreated, firing relentlessly as they moved. The enemy followed, silent and unstoppable, their beams cutting through space like blades of light. Yet even as the humans retreated, they inflicted heavy losses. For every ship erased, they destroyed 3 more. The message was clear: humanity would not die quietly. As the Retribution jumped into hyperspace, Vasquez stared at the battlefield behind them. Space burned with debris and shattered enemy vessels. Humanity had survived the first encounter, but just barely. "They bleed," she said softly, almost to herself. "Whatever they are, they bleed." Cole turned to her, his voice low. "And they'll be back." Vasquez nodded, her eyes hard as steel. "So will we." The council chamber was no longer a place of politics. It had become a war room. The great hall, once filled with soft lights and calm discussions, now glowed with the red hue of warning alarms. Holograms of burning star systems hovered in the air, each one a reminder of how fast the enemy was advancing. Entire sectors had fallen. Planets vanished overnight. Fleets that had once been symbols of power were now silent wrecks drifting in the void. And yet at the center of it all stood Admiral Elena Vasquez, her black uniform sharp against the pale glow of the chamber. She was not there to plead. She was there to lead. "You have seen what we face," Vasquez said, her voice steady but carrying a weight that silenced the entire chamber. "This enemy does not negotiate. It does not enslave. It does not conquer. It erases. If we do not stand together, there will be nothing left of us. Nothing." The delegates, representing hundreds of alien species, shifted uneasily. Some had never spoken to humans before the Dominion War. Others still remembered mocking Earth, calling it a primitive backwater. Now they could barely meet Vasquez's gaze. A scaled ambassador from a reptilian world stood. "Why should we follow humans? You defeated the Dominion, yes, but this enemy is something else entirely. Even your mighty fleets are falling." Vasquez didn't flinch. "You're right. Alone we fall, all of us. But together," she gestured toward a hologram that lit up above the chamber, a massive, united fleet with human warships at its core. "Together, we fight like nothing this galaxy has ever seen." There was silence. Then a soft, trembling voice spoke. It belonged to a small alien from a race nearly wiped out by the Dominion. "They freed my people. They gave us hope when no one else would. I will follow the humans." Another voice joined in. Then another. Soon the chamber echoed with voices pledging fleets, weapons, and soldiers. Old rivalries fell away, replaced by one truth: survival. For the first time in galactic history, every species stood under one banner. Humanity had not only earned respect, they had united the stars. Weeks passed and the galaxy transformed. Human engineers worked alongside alien scientists, creating weapons that combined the strengths of dozens of civilizations. Massive shipyards across multiple systems produced vessels larger than anything seen before. A new fleet was born, not of one species, but of all. At its heart stood the Retribution, upgraded with alien technology and bristling with even more devastating firepower. Vasquez walked the command decks as soldiers of every race trained side by side. She passed towering insectoid warriors adjusting their armor, aquatic beings floating in gravity tanks designed by human engineers, and humanoid soldiers sharpening energy blades. Despite their differences, all wore the same insignia, a symbol of a star encircled by a silver ring, the mark of the Galactic Alliance. She felt pride, but also a heavy weight. Victory was not guaranteed. The enemy was ancient, powerful, and unlike anything they had ever faced. But now, humanity was not alone. In a secure chamber aboard the Retribution, Vasquez met with the Alliance's leaders. Holograms of admirals, generals, and scientists filled the room. "They'll come for us soon," she said. "They're testing our defenses, studying our tactics. We can't wait for them to strike first. We take the fight to them." A murmur of fear swept through the group. One alien general spoke softly. "You want to attack that?" He gestured to a hologram of the enemy's territory, a dark region of space filled with colossal structures and swarming ships. "Yes," Vasquez said firmly. "Because if we wait, they'll come to every world you love and burn it." The Alliance agreed. Plans were set in motion. A fleet of unprecedented size gathered in secret, stretching across light years, ready to plunge into the dark. Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Retribution as the final ships arrived. The stars outside were no longer empty. They were filled with vessels of every size and design, all united under one cause. For the first time in history, the galaxy had become one army, and leading them was humanity.